Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 20 career mode here for our second season in MotoGP. And today we are here for the Australian Grand Prix. But before we get into that, of course, we need to do the recap of the previous episode. So if we have a look at the championship standings, everything in the Riders' Championship, of course, is wrapped up pretty much. However, there is still a bit of a scrap over third position between Jack Miller, Fabio Quartararo and Maverick Vinales. As you can see, there's only 8 points separating those three riders, so there's still all to play for. And Valentino Rossi is not totally out of there as well, with 3 rounds, 20 points. That's pretty feasible he could make that up. So Valentino Rossi just hanging on to a possibility of that third in the championship as well. And then there's another good scrap over 7th position with Dovizioso, Rins and Espargaro, with only 5 points separating those three riders. So in the Teams Championship, a pretty similar story really. We won that in the previous episode. We'd almost won it in the episode before. There was only a couple of points in it. But we now have a 197 point lead with not that many points left up for grabs. So we have won that one. But again, it's fairly close between Repsol Honda, Monster Energy Yamaha and Mission Winnow Ducati. Although Mission Winnow Ducati are starting to be a little bit out of it. They're 43 points down on Repsol Honda. That can still be achieved in a weekend. So it is between those three for second place in the Constructors Championship. However, everybody else, there's huge gaps. Well, actually, Pramac and Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, I've just noticed, are pretty close in the championship. Only a few points between those guys, only 8 points in it. So there's still a shot at those gaps being closed up. And if we move on to the Constructors Championship, a little bit more difficult for these gaps to change particularly. Again, Honda, Yamaha and Ducati all very, very close. Mainly because of how close their teams are as well. Of course, the Constructors are going to be fairly close. It's going to be a bit harder for Yamaha and Ducati to kind of level with Honda, because Honda's got 30 points on Yamaha, and then there's another 14 back again to Ducati. So Honda have got quite a big gap. Honda should be fairly safe for second in the Constructors Championship, but third and fourth is definitely between Yamaha and Ducati. But that's all the recap out of the way, as there's nothing to do on the Moto3 Junior team. There will be after this race, but before that there is absolutely nothing to do. So without any further ado then, we'll head into qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix. I'll see you there. So here we are then in Phillip Island, and it is nice and sunny here, which is exactly what I wanted to see. Now, last season we actually struggled quite a bit at this circuit. I think in the race we didn't do too bad in the end, but in qualifying we really struggled, and we couldn't get anywhere near our championship rival at the time, Marc Marquez. So I'm hoping that on the Suzuki we should be a little bit better here, but I'm not 100% sure on that because, of course, the bike isn't very upgraded. But let's see who's in this session with us then. So we've got Miguel Oliveira, Jack Miller, who's obviously in that fight for third place in the championship. So that is quite a surprise there to see Miller at his home race in qualifying one. Takaki Nakagami as well, Bagnaia, Cal Crutchlow, Ika Lecuona, Aleix Espargaro, Danilo Petrucci, Jorge Martin, Jean Zarco, Alex Marquez and Tito Rabat. So for Jack Miller, this session is going to be crucial. So I see no reason why we shouldn't just head straight out onto the track here. It is going to be a tricky one because it's all about carrying the corner speed, which isn't particularly a strength of mine, and with this bike not turning too well, it's not a massive strength of that bike, but it's just because we haven't upgraded it very much. The Suzuki is pretty sweet handling usually in Grand Prix mode, but we'll head out onto the track then and see what we can do. So then here we are then, coming through the final turn, actually understaying quite a bit, not going to get on the power very early, so we come out the last corner then, coming up towards the line. That's our first lap here at Phillip Island. It's going to be a bit of a tricky weekend. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but I think it really is. As we go to Doohan's Corner for the first time then, a sector where you can easily gain or lose a lot of time depending on your lines. I've gone a little bit too hot into the southern loop, but it's not the end of the world. You can sort of get a bit more of a cutback. Not sure who that is in front of us. I think that might be Jack Miller potentially. See a little bit of red. 7 tenths off in the first sector. That's just what I mean. We lose so much time through some of the sectors sometimes. Through Stoner's Corner, trying to back it in as much as we can as we brake for the Honda hairpin, or it's not called that anymore, is it's turn 4. It's actually Alex Marquez in front of us. The red is for the LCR Honda. I don't actually know what it's called. The GUIV is it the sponsor, something like that. But the LCR main sponsor, and the Castrol of course, is red. So we gained a few thousandths back in that sector, but still almost 7 tenths off. So we're going to have to find a lot of time on this next lap, that's for sure. Not sure what it is, but in this game, they're really good at Phillip Island. The AI have been very poor at Phillip Island in previous years, but on this game, they're pretty good. So now we're nearly 8 tenths down, so we lost like another tenth of a second in that sector, so I don't know who it is. It must be Jack Miller that's got the fastest time at the moment, because he shouldn't be in this session anyway. So Jack Miller being down here is definitely going to skew the order a little bit, and makes me want to try and get third in this session rather than second if I can't beat Miller. So here we go then, coming up towards the line. What is the time going to be as we cross the line? 1 minute 26.6, which is good enough for 4th place. Not sure how far off pole that is. It's probably quite far off, but we'll have to keep going and see what we can do on this next lap. So we're coming through the final corner then. Coming up towards the line. It has been a bit of a better lap. 2 personal best sectors. What's it going to be as we come up towards the line? 1 minute 26.1. Only 4 tenths off, but that's still 4th place. We need to go back to the pits, refuel the bike, and come out for another run. So then a new set of tyres, 5 laps of fuel once again then. Let's head back out onto the circuit. So actually just before we go out, let's have a look at the times. So actually 4 tenths off, but you can see how close the grid is. That's 7th in this session. We're going to be absolutely nowhere on the grid, being only 4 tenths off. The 7 thousandths between Nakagami and Petrucci. Actually looks like Jack Miller struggling even more than we are. He's down almost in last place, 1.3 seconds off. So the Ducati not seeming to work too well here, but the Honda working pretty well. So let's head back out onto the circuit then and see if we can improve our position. We really need to. So Miller's now actually gone down. So Miller's session goes from bad to worse. But we're now in 8th place. We've lost another position. So we really do need to try and improve if possible here. So coming to the end of this first lap in this second run, Miller now is top of the session. At 25.5, we're 7 tenths off on that. So we really do need to try and find some more time on this lap. It's probably going to be the last lap we get in the session, actually. So coming out of the last turn then, up towards the line. It's not going to be good enough at all as we come up towards the line. What is this going to be? 1 minute 26.2, 7 tenths off. And that's going to be it. We've only got 3 minutes left in this session. That's not going to be enough to go back in and get more fuel. So we're going to be 18th on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix. Jack Miller and Takaki Nakagami going through then in this session with a 1 minute 25.5 and a 1 minute 25.6 respectively. We end up 9th in the session in the end, so it's actually going to be even worse. 19th on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix with a 1 minute 26.1, which isn't even that bad of a lap time at Phillip Island. So yeah, once again the AI being OP in Phillip Island qualifying. So we're going to have to start very far down on the grid, 19th on the grid. But that's it for MotoGP qualifying. Let's head into the Moto3 Junior race, see how Daisy Jackson and Manuel Hernandez got on in their qualifying session, and how they're going to get on in the race. So then, Daisy Jackson in 15th on the grid, not meeting the objective here. And Hernandez is on pole again! Oh, wow, what has happened here? Manuel Hernandez has taken his 2nd pole position of the season here at Phillip Island. I did not see that one coming, that is for sure. I was just about to say how I was a bit disappointed that we're not going to get the qualifying objective in this one because Daisy Jackson hasn't got in the top 12. But Hernandez on pole position once again this season. Absolutely amazing, Manuel Hernandez. So he really has been in the last few races showing his pace, and he's got this pole position this time. Hopefully he can do a better job than he did in Assen from the pole position. Of course, he had a terrible start to the race. Daisy Jackson will be keeping his eye on her as well to see her progress through the field on the opening lap, of course, from 15th on the grid. Quite a poor qualifying for Daisy Jackson. But Manuel Hernandez on pole position. Well, me and Daisy both struggling here at Phillip Island, but Hernandez seems to have got the groove. So let's get this race started, and hopefully Hernandez can get a good result from this. So then Hernandez on the pole. We're currently watching Jackson. I'm now going to switch to Hernandez because I need to see this first lap from Manuel. Lights out and away we go off the line. Hernandez has already dropped down to 2nd place. Yamamasiya has jumped him off the line. McPhee is trying to get him as well as to go down towards turn 1. Hernandez has just got to keep his cool as he goes through the opening couple of corners. If he loses the position or two, it's not the end of the world. He's going to swoop round the outside there. Vietti's trying to go around the outside of him. So Celestino Vietti round the outside of Manuel Hernandez. Hernandez is now about 4th position. He's broke way too early for the southern loop. He's dropped down to 5th place now. Looks like Tatsuki Suzuki is on the inside as well. So down to 6th place. Hernandez going a little bit wide for Nati now on the inside. So he's not had the best start, unfortunately. But will he get any more positions back? Bodger now trying to go around the outside of him as well. I can see Jackson in the background. So Jackson's had a pretty good start from 15th on the grid. As they go down towards the Honda hairpin, he's back up into 6th position. He dropped down to 7th briefly. He's going around the outside of Dennis Foggia. It looks like Fanati on the inside trying to get past Foggia as well. A bit of contact there with somebody. I think he might have had a bit of contact with Tatsuki Suzuki there. He's now down to 8th place as they go through Siberia. He's back up to 7th place. Once again, Mino trying to go around the outside. So Hernandez not had the best start here. He's trying to get past Nicolo Antonelli, who is fighting for this championship as well. with Jaume Masia, but he loses the position once again now to Romano Fenati. And right behind him is Tony Arbolino, but he's looking at the inside of Fenati. That was brave as they go uphill, and now it's his teammate Daisy Jackson up behind him. He's down to 10th position as they go down towards the MG hairpin. Jackson's looking at the inside, couldn't quite pull it off there. But that one's been a crash. I think that's Kaito Toba in the background once again. It's down, so 2 races in a row for Kaito Toba. I don't know if he collected anybody else with him, but he's gone down at the MG hairpin. As we go through the final turn, I'm to absolutely shout my lungs out on this first lap. Hernandez moves back up into ninth, but Jackson has got a beautiful run side by side. You can see so many riders wide as they go down towards the first corner. Vietti leads the race ahead of Masia, then Foggia. Hernandez and Jackson go side by side down towards turn 1, Doohan's corner. Jackson goes round the outside of Hernandez up into 9th place. So Hernandez already been overtaken by his teammate. She started 15th, he started 1st. Now Arbolino on the inside of Hernandez. So Hernandez has really not got the race pace here to back up his qualifying pace, unfortunately. So from the excitement of the pole position, right back to reality, crashing back down from the high heights, of course, of earlier on in this race. First position to 10th position on that very, very first lap. And now it's not over yet. Mino is coming through as well. Well, actually, I think Mino might have already been in front then because he's not lost the position with Mino on the inside. But he's side by side with Arbolino. And Arbolino has now got in front. But will he be able to hold it around the outside? I think he actually will. So Hernandez struggling so much in this race here. Although he has now got back in front of Arbolino. Once again, this is an absolutely mad race. He's still behind his teammate. So if they can both get decent top 10 finishes, that's fine. Because yes, he got pole, but obviously Jackson started down the order, made it more difficult for herself. But she's managed to get through already. She's going around the outside of Mino here, up through Lukey Heights. If we swap to Daisy Jackson now, she is the lead rider, of course. She's trying to get on the inside to the MG hairpin of Mino. Can she pull it off? Not quite. Hernandez trying to go around the outside. Hernandez tried to pass both of them, but they've both passed Mino in the process of that. Hernandez going super wide. Watch out, Manuel. Don't go on the grass, man. He's lost the position to Mino once again then, so back down to 9th place. Jackson up into 8th place. Oh, sorry, back down to 10th place. Jackson in 8th, right behind Romano Fenati. What can she do? Can she pass him here? She could be on for a good result because she's on an absolute charge so far. So here she goes then. She's looking for a move on Romano Fenati into the first corner. Up the inside she goes. Ooh, Fenati brave around the outside. Mino's looking for it as well. And Hernandez is looking really racy. Mino goes through. Can she hang it around the outside of Mino? I don't think so. I think Mino's going to have it on her. A little bit of a weird glitch with the front wheel then. It seems to be clipping through the ground a little bit or something. But yeah, Mino repassed both of our riders then in a couple of corners there. So a bit unfortunate for us, but Mino is now back ahead of the 2 biker racing Hondas. Jackson's looking for a move on Mino once again though. Is she going to go around the outside through Lukey Heights like she did on the previous lap? Yes, she did. Swoop around the outside of Andrea Mino. Beautiful move there. So back ahead of him now. Fenati once again is in her sights. It looks like Hernandez trying to follow her through the MG hairpin. A little bit of contact between Hernandez and Mino there. So Mino actually keeps the position just ahead of Manuel. But Manuel will be past him soon, I'm sure, because of course he did pass him on the previous lap. And now Jackson is firmly set on trying to pass Romano Fenati as they go through the final turn. She's going to try and get the drive, try and get the slipstream. She seems to be getting a bit of a tow off John McPhee in front, a little bit of a distant tow. So maybe that is a smart idea to try and get a bit of a distant tow instead of following Fenati and losing time by weaving or something like that. But she's not been able to do it on the run into Doohan's corner. Can she go around the outside through Doohan's corner though? She looks like she's trying it. Will she be able to get the inside into the southern loop on Fenati? Not quite. So Romano's just going to hold on that Husqvarna in front of her. So Jackson then as we come through Lukey Heights. Will she be able to do a famous move around the outside? She's going for it on Romano Fenati. Will she be able to pull it off? And in the background, Hernandez is doing the same thing to Andrea Mino. So Jackson goes past Fenati. Mino gets overtaken by Hernandez. I think Mino's trying to stick it through on the inside, but I don't think he's going to quite be able to do it. So looks like Manuel Hernandez has picked off the positions, and now up to 7th and 9th positions. And Jackson is right behind John McPhee now, so hopefully she can get him. She's looking around the outside through the final turn. She should be able to out-drag him down towards the first corner, which would be absolutely amazing. And then she'd be on the back of Nicolo Antonelli. So actually a pretty good race so far for Jackson. And there she goes up into 6th position. This would be the best finish she's had, probably, well, maybe even all season. I'm not sure what her highest position is. I think it's 5th position, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong, so if she could try and get past Nicolo Antonelli on these last couple of laps, that would be absolutely amazing. Fenati has followed her through on John McPhee. So now next up is Nicolo Antonelli, and then it's Suzuki. But I don't think she'll be able to catch up to Suzuki, but maybe, just maybe, she'll be able to get Antonelli. And Mino once again has gone back in front of Hernandez, so these two continuing their race-on battle just ahead of Tony Arbolino behind them. So if they could beat Arbolino, that would be ideal. Of course, we are battling Arbolino and Salac in the team's championship with the Snipers team. So as long as he can beat Tony Arbolino here, that would be good, because they are both beating Philip Salac already. So as we're about to start the final lap of the race then, Fenati is all over the back of Jackson. Antonelli did the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, so she's definitely not catching up to them. But there is a little bit of a group forming ahead now, but Fenati is going around the outside through Duan's corner. Can he pull it off on the inside towards the southern loop? Yes, he can. So a beautiful move from Romano Fenati. I'm not happy about it, but it was such a good move. I'm getting a little bit excited. So Jackson now drops back down to 7th position once again. Can she try and get Fenati back? Hopefully she can, as they go towards Stoner's corner. And in the background, looks like Hernandez is still battling with Andrea Mino. But it looks like John McPhee actually is dropping pretty rapidly but towards the two of them. So maybe they can both jump John McPhee on this final lap. Just got to watch out that Hernandez doesn't lose a position to Arbolino behind. He goes very wide through the Honda hairpin to try and get on the power a bit earlier. That almost allowed Arbolino an opportunity, but not quite. Mino goes a little bit wide through Siberia, so that could cost him. So we swap back to Jackson. It looks like Fenati's already put a bit of a gap into her. So unfortunately for Daisy Jackson, I don't think she's going to be able to get that 6th position back. She's just going to have to hang on to the 7th, which is still a good result from 15th on the grid. 8 positions up in the race. It's a fantastic result. But obviously, unfortunately for Hernandez, starting on that pole did not work for him for the 2nd time this season. Looks like Mino in the background is going side by side with John McPhee. Will those two trip each other up and allow Hernandez to sneak his way through? Still side by side between those two in front. Come on, Hernandez. Try and just pick someone off as they go towards the last corner. He's side by side with John McPhee now. I think he's in front of McPhee. McPhee's going to have the outside through the last corner though. Will that be enough for John? No, it's not. So Hernandez up to 9th position at the death. Can he get the slipstream on Mino up towards the line? I don't think he's going to. So it's going to be 7th for Daisy Jackson and 9th for Manuel Hernandez in this race. So then a very, very interesting race in the Moto3 category for our riders. Two completely opposite races. Losing 8 positions is Manuel Hernandez and gaining 8 positions Daisy Jackson. So completely opposite races, ending with 7th and 9th, which is still a pretty good result for both of them. I'm not going to complain about it too much. Obviously Hernandez did squander that pole position, but I did expect it a little bit based on the fact that he also did it at Assen. But once again, a fantastic result for him to even get pole position. I'm impressed by that. It is most certainly worth noting though that Jackson was only 7/10 off the fastest lap, which is very, very good to see, very, very encouraging. And the reason why Fenati got in front of her was because he did the fastest lap right near the end of the race. And you can see Antonelli and Suzuki, who she was behind at one point, managed to catch up to both the Leopards and overtake them. So Antonelli really, after looking like he was struggling the whole race, has managed to gain a lot of points back on Masia. And Vietti did a fantastic race there to actually win. So then, in the Riders' Championship, of course, still sat in 11th and 12th positions for Daisy Jackson and Manuel Hernandez, as I expected. But Jackson's only 10 points behind John McPhee now, with 2 races to go. That's catchable, so it's definitely possible that Daisy Jackson can get this 10th in the championship once again now. So after the previous race, where I don't think they were both as strong, I think McPhee did manage to beat both of them, but this time McPhee had quite a poor race at the end. He lost a lot of positions on the last few laps. Obviously Hernandez just getting him on that final turn there, definitely going to help his teammate out. But only 10 points in it, 2 races to go, that's only 5 points a race. So it's possible for Jackson to get that position on McPhee and actually on Lopez as well, because she's only 21 points down on Alonso Lopez now. And in the Team's Championship, once again, both of my riders beating both of the Snipers team, so extending that lead ahead of them in the 5th in the championship. So I think we've fairly safely got that now. I don't see that changing particularly, just because Salac doesn't ever seem to score any points anymore. So you only need to beat Arbolino every race, and we've got 2 riders, so even if they finish behind Arbolino, it's still possible they can outscore him. But that's it for the Moto3 race then. Onto the MotoGP race, and we've got to hope we have a Daisy Jackson type race, pick off loads of positions from a poor grid position, and hope that we can get a good finish. 19th on the grid, it's going to be a tough one. So then, Marc Marquez ended up getting pole position to no one's surprise, I am sure. Let's see who's next up. Valentino Rossi, once again, 2nd position. And why is his bike... Oh, I was about to say, why is his bike also spawned in the background? But it's a big screen, I think. So that was a really, really stupid thing for me to say then. I thought there was just a copy of his bike spawned in. But Rossi has been doing amazingly in qualifying as of late. Cal Crutchlow then in 16th on the grid, which, to be honest, is not bad for the Aprilia. So we actually got out-qualified by an Aprilia, which is quite embarrassing, to be honest. I almost put the soft tyre on. That would have been quite bad. So a soft front, medium rear, it might actually be better off having a hard race. I'm actually 20th on the grid now. I've just noticed. I thought I got 9th in that session, so I thought I'd start 19th on the grid. But we're being given 20th anyway, so whatever. It doesn't make much difference to me, but I was expecting 19th on the grid. Maybe I just misread the results, or maybe there's been some sort of glitch again. I'll have to watch the footage back later or something. But either way, starting from right near the back, it's going to be a hard race. It's not going to be too fun. So let's just see what we could try and do. If we could pick off some positions, get some decent points, that would be nice. But of course, the points don't really matter at this point of the season anyway. So I just want to have a fun race, see if we can pass some people.
Engines are fired, the riders are ready. Just a few moments to go and another Australian Grand Prix will begin here at Phillip Island.
So then, Marc Marquez on the pole, Rossi second, and Pol Espargaro in third position. What can we do here? Dash structure control 3, up to Palmer 2, waiting for the lights to go out. Lights out and away we go. So we're actually behind both Aprilias there, you can see. But if we get off the line, it's not been a terrible start as we go down towards the first corner. Get a bit of switching with Nicolo Petrucci. We actually have had quite a good run down towards the first corner, up to 14th already, so we're already into the points. Round the outside of a KTM, looking at the inside of Pecco Bagnaia now. There's Miguel Oliveira just in front of us on the factory KTM, trying to force him wide out the way, kind of sat him up a bit. We're going past our teammate Bagnaia behind on a crash. I don't know whether that would be caused by Oliveira sitting up. We're now up into the top 10 already, so it's been an absolutely immense start. We've picked off so many riders. Pol Espargaro from the front row. We've just overtook him through the Stoner's corner. We're braking nice and late here into the Honda hairpin. We've gained way too many positions on the way in there. Up to 6th position already. This has been an amazing start. What is going on here? We're going around the outside of Andrea Dovizioso up to 4th. Okay, Dovizioso has got back in front of us, but that would be absolutely crazy. We had a bit of contact with Dovi there, so apologies for that, having a bit of contact with Dovi. But we're up to 4th place, Jack Miller in front of us. Then it's Valentino Rossi, then it's Marc Marquez. I actually can't believe this. We've gone from 20th to 4th. 20th to 4th. It's been an aggressive start. I've had a couple of bits of contact, I will admit, but really, this has been an absolutely fantastic sign. It might not be over yet. I think we might be able to get Jack Miller here, because he's not taking the best lines. Mir is now behind us, so Dovi probably lost the position from when we had that contact with him. And we're trying to get up the inside, but Pol Espargaro's had a terrible start. Manuel Hernandez type start. He's gone from the front row down to outside the top 10. Absolutely unbelievable. We've not had a good exit out the last corner though. Miller is pulling away from us on that Desmodici. As we go over the line then, 1 minute 33.4 on that first lap, 3/10 behind Jack Miller. It's been, I was not expecting that. I'm a bit flabbergasted by that start, to be honest with you. So a podium is definitely within reach. I accidentally just hit the right stick there, so I was tipping it into the next corner when I was going for my gears. So I knocked the camera angle. That almost made me go off the track. That would have been rather silly. We got 8/10 back to Dovi then. The Ducatis actually do seem to be working pretty well here, because they're both at the front, which they've not been for a while. But Miller is definitely going to gain an advantage in this third in the championship battle, because both the Yamahas are absolutely nowhere. But here we go through the Honda hairpin, and we've got the drive. Past Miller we go, up into second position as we go, up to third position, sorry, as we go into Siberia. Valentino Rossi up next, who really the last few races have been amazing. Valentino Rossi has been my rider of the last few races. He's been absolutely amazing. He's been qualifying well, finishing well on a satellite Yamaha. And he's actually still got a shot at that third in the championship, and he's really helping his courts here. Obviously, Miller is only a couple of positions behind him, and if I have my way, it'll only be 1 position behind him very, very shortly. But really, he has been absolutely fantastic the last few races. Hopefully, we can try and pass him though as we go to the last couple of corners. I don't want to do anything too aggressive on him though, because I actually don't want to mess with him, because I want him to try and fight for this third in the championship. I'd like to see what the AI can do with each other in the championship. So out the last corner then, we've lost a little bit of drive to Rossi. That probably seems to be a weakness of mine. Out the last corner, 1 minute 26.2 for Marquez, 26.1 for me, which is kind of what I did in qualifying. So as we go through the first corner, I've not taken that perfectly, must be said, but we're looking for an outside move. We might have to wait until around the Honda hairpin time. We've had a bit of contact with Rossi into the southern loop. I was looking at the inside, we've tapped him a little bit, so I've let him have it, and I've actually probably lost most of my momentum, so that's probably actually going to stop me from passing him on the exit of the Honda hairpin like I thought I was going to. Best we can gain a bit of time through Stoners. We'll try to go full throttle through there. We brake as late as we can for the Honda hairpin. I'm closing up a lot on Valentino. He goes a little bit wide through it, but no, I don't think we're going to pass him on the run to Siberia like we did with Jack Miller on the previous lap, although we're going to give it a go. We're going to hang it around the outside through Siberia. He's got the inside line, but can I get on the power a bit earlier and just blast past him on the exit of it? We might be able to. Side by side with Rossi. Can we do it? Rossi's still got the inside. Marquez absolutely clearing off as we go through turn 8 then. We've got the run and we're going to do a Manuel Hernandez, Daisy Jackson type move around the outside through Lukey Heights like they did that quite a few times in the previous one. He goes through. We're going to go around the outside into the MG hairpin. Have we now got past the Doctor? Yes, we have. Up into second position. Marc Marquez then in front. I've not been given the gap to him because Rossi was still in front of me through that last sector. But actually, Rossi might be able to get me back down the straight because I've been getting a terrible exit out the last corner this entire race. We've got 6 laps to go. We have, and we've got 6 laps of fuel left. So we've actually got a decent amount of fuel for once. 1.8 seconds for Marc Marquez. I'm going to put my head down, see if I can catch him up. I'm not liking my chances because I think he's at that gap where he's too far in front and he'll just keep doing the ridiculous lap times. But if we could win this race from 20th on the grid, that would be something else. That really would be. So as we come up towards the line and at the end of the 4th lap, what's this time going to be? 25.9. 1.4 seconds off of Marc Marquez. We are catching him, but look at the left-hand side of our rear tyre. It is very, very worn. We're going to be really, really tight for the amount of wear we've got left on that by the end of the race. So we do need to try and catch Marquez as quickly as possible, but without wasting any tyre wear, because we need to try and make the move on him as well, and then of course keep the position ahead of him after we've overtaken him. So as we come out of the last corner and then coming up towards the line, we've gained a lot of Marquez on this lap. 25.7, 8 tenths behind him now. This is definitely on. We're on for a potential shot at the victory here, and we've taken a second out of him in this time. We've got 4 laps to go. I think we can do it. We're on the back of him almost now as we go through the Honda hairpin. You can see how close he is, but we're not quite getting the advantage we did earlier on in the race out of that corner. But you can see we are closing on him all the time now, but this section I'm not quite as good. We're only 4 tenths behind Marquez, so hopefully on the next lap we should be able to close literally onto the back of him and then be starting to look at making moves on him. I don't think we were doing that on this lap, unfortunately. So we go through Lukey Heights. Well, I am still closing on him a little bit. If he goes defensive into MG, that could be a lot of time lost for him. Still 4 tenths of a second, although he did put a little bit of time into me. Out of MG, then we've actually gained a bit of time on him. So we go through the penultimate turn. We're all over the back of Marc Marquez now. We really are all over him. I'm having to save a bit of fuel as well because I realised I was about half a lap under fueled. As we go through the final corner, then Marquez once again has done it a little bit better than me. I'm not good at that last corner. It's probably one of my worst corners on the circuit. But as we come up towards the line, then 26.2, so my pace actually dropped a little bit on that lap, but we still gained a lot of time on Marc Marquez. We go through the first corner then. Maybe we'll be looking to make a move towards Siberia like we have on so many other riders in this race. Obviously we did it on Rossi, we did it on Dovi, we did it on Miller. So I suppose that's not that many, but it's quite a few, considering how usually I'm at the front, not overtaking too many riders. He's put half a second, so it's half a second again now, so I don't think we're going to actually be close enough to pass Marquez on this lap, unfortunately. I've gone in too hot as well. It's not going to help my case. Probably lost a lot of drive there because I had to slow down a bit more than normal, but we're about the same position we were on the last lap, so it's not the end of the world, but we've got to make sure we don't run out of time like we did at Le Mans last season when we caught up to Marquez, but we ran out of time to pass him. So as we're about to start the penultimate lap of the race, then Marquez 6 tenths in front, so we actually pulled away on that lap. I think the shot of the victory might be over now. No, Marquez is too far away as we're about to start the final lap of the race. You can see he's done enough. He's 8 tenths ahead once again. So Marc Marquez has got this one in the bag. He's going to win the Australian Grand Prix. But we have put up a good fight. We really have. From 20th on the grid to 2nd would be absolutely fantastic. We've gone a little bit too wide through the southern loop here, but Marquez is already too far for us to catch anyway, so there's nothing we can really do about it. We're just going to watch the fuel, make sure we don't run out, because Australia is one of the most high fuel consumption circuits, just because you're on throttle for so much of the lap. That's the main reason why. So yeah, we've run a little bit wide through the Honda hairpin. That is absolutely any chance gone now. Marquez over a second in front. Once again, a very consistent pace from Marquez. It's just we had to come from too far behind to catch him. Alex Marquez crashes as we're talking about Marc. Unfortunately there for Alex. Well, 1 second behind. We actually did make a little bit of time for that section, but we got 4 seconds back to Valentino Rossi. We have had some good pace in this race, but Marc Marquez has just had enough. He pulled those 2 seconds out. Well, it was 1.8, but basically 2 seconds whilst we were fighting through the pack. He's used it wisely. He's got it back out to 1.2 again. Obviously, if we'd started at the front, I have no doubt that we would have won the race, of course, but qualifying 20th, it's just not enough, is it, unfortunately, but we had a really good first lap. Marc Marquez, a well-deserved winner here as we go through the final turn. We're going to get second position, which for me is absolutely amazing considering where I thought we'd get. I thought we'd struggle to even crack the top 10, to be honest with you. So then, Marc Marquez wins the race, 1.3 seconds ahead of me in the end. However, I actually did get the fastest lap of the race, which is quite surprising, considering usually the AI will take it off me, some sort of glitch. Even in races I've dominated, the AI have taken the lap time away from me, sort of like the weird generated time, like they've taken it away. But actually, this time, a race where I thought I wouldn't have the pace, I actually got the fastest lap, so I'm quite happy with that one. 1.3 seconds behind, absolutely left Valentino Rossi and Jack Miller in the dust, both of us did there. So a good result for myself and Marquez. Of course, Rossi third in the race, another really good performance on that satellite Yamaha. Miller in fourth, he's going to extend his lead in third in the championship, massively ahead of Quartararo in ninth, and Wede Vinales finished 11th. So yeah, really poor result for those guys. And Paul Espargaro ended up in 10th after starting on the front row. That is very, very poor. So in the Riders' Championship then, obviously myself and Marquez secure for the first and second positions. I think Marquez has now mathematically got that second position. I don't think anybody can beat him now. With only 2 races to go, he's got more than 50 points over Jack Miller. He's got 60 points over him, so Marquez has got that second position in the championship fully wrapped up now. So if we have a look further behind him, Jack Miller has now got an 11-point lead over Fabio Quartararo for third, so Miller really making a case for him getting that third position. But look who's in 6th position. He was already there, but he's now only 1 point behind Maverick Vinales. He's catapulted himself into that battle for third position. Of course, he's quite a bit off the back of it. But he could definitely get 4th or 5th in this championship fairly easily without too many difficulties. So Valentino Rossi, the last few races, definitely been the star rider in my opinion. And yeah, I think his points tally now shows it. He's closing up to the 2 factory Yamahas once again. And he's been absolutely destroying his teammate Franco Morbidelli. In the Teams Championship then, there actually has been a change. So Red Bull KTM Tech 3 overtakes Real Avintia Racing. So one of the Tech 3 boys must have got a decent haul of points. I think it might have been Petrucci, because Petrucci qualified quite well for the Tech 3. However, not much else has changed except mission winner Ducati are only 8 points now behind Monster Energy Yamaha, because both the Ducatis finished pretty well, whereas both the factory Yamahas didn't finish too well. And of course, Repsol Honda are quite far in front now, actually. They've got a 40-point lead over Monster Energy Yamaha. They've got 42 points on them, so I think it's now going to be between Monster Energy Yamaha and Mission winner Ducati for third. I think Repsol Honda are going to be sitting pretty, because they've got to score nothing in one of the last races, really, to lose that lead. And I can't see Marquez and Paul Espargaro not going to score anything between them, so I think that might be wrapped up in the next race. I potentially think Repsol Honda might secure themselves second in the Teams Championship in the next race, and it'll be between Monster Energy Yamaha and Mission winner Ducati. A similar story in the Constructors Championship. You can see Honda have now got quite a big lead, not quite enough to have it wrapped up ahead of Yamaha and Ducati behind, but very, very close. So I think in the next race, Repsol Honda might secure themselves second in the Teams Championship, and then Honda themselves will just secure second in the Constructors Championship, which would be really, really good for those guys. So they've got a 39-point lead over Yamaha, and they'd only need 50 leaving this race to actually win it, so they're 11 points short. I think in the next race, they'll only need 25, of course, actually leave as the second position constructor, so I think they should be able to do that without too many difficulties. But it really is just between Yamaha and Ducati, who have been level pegging throughout the whole season, really, for both the teams and the Constructors Championship. So it'll be interesting to see how it transpires between those guys in the next 2 races of the season. But that's it for this race then. I think I'll quickly have a look at Alex Marquez, see how he crashed on that final lap, but then we'll head to the career hub and end off the episode there. Oh, of course, I completely forgot on the first lap, Bagnaia crashed, didn't he? So we need to watch that first. So if we watch on board with Bagnaia, you can see me on the inside. You can see Miguel Oliveira just in front of him. So I'm lifting Miguel Oliveira up. And oh, that's unfortunate for Bagnaia. It was kind of a knock-on effect of what I did, of course, sitting up Oliveira. But really, it wasn't actually the contact with Oliveira that had him off. It was the contact with Binder afterwards. So if we slow it down, you can see I'm on the inside of Oliveira, really trying to push Oliveira out of the way here. It was a very aggressive move. He left a bit of a gap open. I kind of sat him up. It was a bit over the line, actually, now that I watch it back. And that's careered him into Bagnaia, which has then sent Bagnaia into the path of Brad Binder, and unfortunately taken down Pecco Bagnaia, and I'm presuming Brad Binder as well. I'm assuming that he wouldn't have stayed on from that. I don't know how it's actually... Yeah, Binder is down as well. So both Bagnaia and Binder down at the Southern Loop, because of course I forced Oliveira off the racing line into their paths. And there was another crash that I completely forgot about. Takaki Nakagami, as we're going down towards the Honda hairpin, you can see he's on the outside, turns in, clips Alex Rins, and down he goes. So if we slow it into slow motion, you can see he's just turning in on the trajectory. Rins is drifting out a little bit wide. He turns it a bit early. Bit of contact there. He's kind of lost the front already. And then there you go. It finally lets go. And down he goes. So unfortunate for Takaki Nakagami. But this time it wasn't caused by me, because you can see me aggressively weaving in front from the middle of the circuit. I kind of veered to the inside to avoid someone and overtook Morbidelli. I think I about hit Mir as well by the looks of it. So that means it was a really poor day for LCR then. Both their riders actually crashing in this race. So here we are then on board with Alex Marquez. You can see he goes through Stoners, he has a bit of contact with Danilo Petrucci, and then down towards the Honda hairpin. He goes onto the curb, he tips it in. Petrucci gives a bit of a tap, and down he goes. It was like what Mick Doohan did to us back in the Historic Challenges, if you remember that a long time ago. And Alex actually rejoined the track a bit dangerously there, but you can see Danilo Petrucci actually really giving him a bit of a tap. So as they turn it in to this corner here, Petrucci gains a little bit too much speed on the way in, although I suppose Alex Marquez did close him off a bit. But Petrucci would be the instigator of the incident if you ask me, because Petrucci could have backed out of the corner, but he's clipped the back of Alex Marquez and just basically took him down, because that much lean angle, he was never going to recover it after being hit like that. So Alex Marquez taken out of the race by Danilo Petrucci, unfortunately. So then, after the poor qualifying, we gained no reputation from qualifying, but the good race did give us 12,400 reputation points, which takes us up to 718,200 reputation points. And on the credits front, as per usual, the Moto3 team carries most of the weight there. We gained 31,574 from the MotoGP race. We gained 80,932 from the Moto3 race, which gives us a combined total of 112,506, which takes us up to 915,872 credits. So then, for the junior team, we actually had a pretty good weekend, even though Jackson, of course, didn't make the qualifying objective. They both actually had pretty good races, so Manuel Hernandez gives us 39 prestige for getting first position in qualifying. We gain 155 prestige off of 7th place in the race for Daisy Jackson, 135 for his 9th position, which gives us 404 prestige. And then we gain 150 research data. So this time it seems like Jackson didn't do any development. I think that's how I understand the reading of it anyway. So we gain 150 research data. So we actually might be able to make that last upgrade on the chassis or the engine. I don't know which one we're going to make first. I think the chassis one is cheaper, so I think probably that one. So I think we now have enough research data to do that. If we head over to this section. So we actually got a few things to do on the Moto3 section here, but the bike development is now completable, so we've got enough to do both upgrades, so actually we can decide which one we want. So either +4 performance in qualifying races, it says. I don't know if that means qualifying and races or just qualifying, because it doesn't actually make sense. And so this one says +4 performance in the race, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. As well, it is a bit cheaper as well, so we're going to go for this final frame upgrade. How long will that take? For 10 weeks it'll take, but that's fine, because that'll just leak over into the new year anyway. So the final upgrade for the frame being developed. And then the team development, we've actually got something that we can do on the finance front. So there's only 3 things left, sorry, 4. If I could actually count, that would be good, wouldn't it? So there's actually 4 things we can still buy on the finance front then. So let's see what they all are. So we have to buy either one or this one or this one here. So there's only 2 we can actually buy, because the rest are like at the bottom of the tree, so you can't actually buy those yet. So we can either get 4% team prestige gain for charity events, or we can get 3% prestige gain for PR. So that's all the finances for them for the prestige gain. So I think it makes sense, to be honest, to go with the slightly higher one. It's only an extra week and you get an extra percentage. Either way, they're not going to be finished before the end of the year, so we may as well take the one that gives us a higher prestige gain. So we'll develop that then. So that's the finances then, and if we have a look at this, the R&D is actually 100% complete. I didn't even notice that. So we've completed everything on the R&D front now. I've actually bought every single upgrade on there, so the bike is as good as the research and development side of the team will be as good as it can be. I guess that's probably why I focused on that bit overly on everything else. We haven't really looked at the riders all too much. I guess it's because you can easily sign a better rider. It's not worth waiting ages to develop it. We can't develop anything else on here though, because they're doing the nutritionist stuff. So 2 weeks, and then we will be able to go and upgrade something else on the rider. So hopefully, just before the Valencian GP, they'll get another upgrade on the riders. That update should come in, and then we can start to try and buy another one. But the team development is going pretty well. So of course we will have to put a bit of time aside to have a look at this team planning for next year as well at some point, but I think we'll do that after Valencia. I think I might have a special episode just for pre-season and sorting out this as well, and obviously we'll have to sort out our Moto2 team. But that is it then for everything to do this episode. So I hope you guys did enjoy that episode. I actually thought it was going to be a bit of a boring one, potentially. I thought I was going to have such poor pace that on the first lap it might be potentially a bit interesting, but after that it would be a bit rubbish. But we overtook so many people on the first lap. The first lap was fantastic, and the rest of the race was just as good because we were battling throughout, trying to catch up to Marquez, for example, and we're obviously battling with Rossi, Miller as well. So hopefully it was quite a good episode. The Moto3 race as well was an absolute classic as always, so that's always nice to see that. Like I said, I hope you guys did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.